we present Kenneth Williams, Derek Nimmo, Clement Freud, and Miriam Karlin in Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is our chairman, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you very much indeed. Hello, welcome once again to Just a Minute. And for this particular show, we welcome for the very first time in the show Miriam Karlin, who's joined these other three old campaigners at the game. They're all going to try and speak on some unlikely subject that I will give them for just 1 minute if they can, without hesitation, without repetition, and without deviating from the subject in any way. If one or the other thinks they're guilty of these crimes, they may press their buzzer. If I uphold their challenge, they will gain a point and take over the subject. If I don't uphold the challenge, the person who is speaking will gain a point and continue with the subject. With these simple rules, and this is the way we score, let us start this particular show with Kenneth Williams. Kenneth, will you begin for us today? And here's a good subject, where to draw the line. Will you talk for just a minute on that subject, starting now?
Well, obviously you draw the line at anything which outrages the established convention of the day. This is obviously something which everyone should observe. You don't talk to your grandmother in the same way that you talk to your chum.
And, Miriam Karlin, you have challenged. Why do you challenge?
Hesitation.
Hesitation. Miriam, you have gained your first point in the show.
It's a disgrace. Absolute disgrace. Elongating the vowel.
Kenneth Williams' elongated vowel has gained Miriam a point. So she gains a point. And she also takes over the subject. There are 42 seconds left, Miriam. Where to draw the line, starting now.
If you are an artist...
Derek Nimmo, you challenged.
Very meanly, but hesitation.
Yes, you see, we've got to play the game,
right.
haven't we? Yes. Well, all right, Miriam, you'll get your confidence in a second at the game. Don't worry about them. Go in there and knock them all 3 for 6. So, Derek Nimmo, you take over the subject. 38 seconds for where to draw the line, starting now.
Where to draw the line? Well, it's great fun, really. I generally go down the Strand with a large pot of purple paint, and I go into the pot with my line marker. I get it out, and I go and draw...
Miriam Karlin, you challenged. Why?
Well, because he was about to paint and not draw, because you can't draw, really, with a pot of paint.
No, you paint a line and don't draw a line. Yes, Miriam.
Very good.
Very clever. So, as I agree, Miriam, with your challenge, you have gained yourself another point. You have 37 seconds for where to draw the line, starting now. Derek
It's all
Nimmo.
very well challenging.
Yes,
One doesn't
Derek,
want the subject back.
He doesn't want the... She doesn't...
Hesitation.
Hesitation, Derek. You have the subject. 36 seconds for the... You ready, Derek? Starting now.
Sometimes it's terribly difficult to draw lines, you know, especially if one is rather inebriated. I remember one bank holiday Tuesday, or was it Thursday? I can't quite remember.
Clement Freud, you challenged. Why?
Deviation.
Why?
There's no bank holiday Tuesday.
I quite agree, but... I quite agree. I had to hear you say it, so as we
I had established that I was inebriated.
Clever, Derek, but you can't get out of it that way. Clement Freud, you gain a point, you take the subject. 17 seconds, starting now.
On the bathroom floor is the place that I've always chosen to draw a line. It means that when Derek Nimmo comes to my house inebriated, he is able to follow this and find exactly the convenience that he is looking for. Thanks to this foresight, I have...
I must explain to those who may not know the game awfully well that at the end of 60 seconds a whistle is blown by Ian Missiter, who's sitting beside me and also thought of the game, and whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. In this case it was Clement Freud, who has now exactly equal number of points with Derek Nimmo and Miriam Karlin, and Kenneth Williams has yet to score. But only one round to go. Miriam Karlin, will you begin the second round? Wearing funny hats. Will you talk on that subject, please, starting now?
Wearing funny hats is a strange preoccupation which seems to appeal to the wearer of strange hat gear far more than the people who happen to be looking at them. Strange or amusing headgear usually comes into the category of paper hats which have "Kiss Me Quick" on the front, or these strange cone-shaped things which look as if ice cream should really be running down their faces. One has seen Clement Freud in a funny hat. Personally, I don't think that he himself is nearly as funny wearing the hat as when he is actually giving speech, being funny and amusing.
Derek Nimmo, you've challenged. Why?
Deviation. You're talking about Clement Freud rather than about hats now.
And it was very boring.
Derek Nimmo, you have gained yourself a point. You have 13 seconds for wearing funny hats starting now.
I love wearing funny hats, you know. It does give me tremendous pleasure. I often pass into the nearest milliner, and I say to the lady behind the counter, please, can I try on the purple velvet one at the back? And she hands it to me, and I put it on, and you know, I look at myself in the mirror, and I scream.
As Derek Nimmo was speaking then when the whistle went, he has gained himself a bonus point. He now has twice as many as Miriam, Karlin and Clement Freud, and Kenneth Williams has yet to score. But it's only round 2. Derek Nimmo, will you begin the third round? What goldfish think about? A little pause for thought on that one. And Derek Nimmo, will you begin now?
Goldfish are terribly unpredictable creatures. I have a pond in my garden where I have goldfish. And, you know, I often wonder what they're thinking about, and I've now discovered. I have discovered quite recently. It happened by a curious set of circumstances. Some people came to my house, amongst them was Freud. We went out in the garden, and they looked at him, and they scuttled away under the nearest stone, disgorged several ant eggs, and swam slowly around in 3 concentric circles. Now, this was a very odd thing. It puzzled me a great deal. I thought about it tremendously through the night. I got up the next morning and I came to a certain conclusion. You know, goldfish, perhaps... I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Clement Freud. Clement Freud, you challenged. Why?
Hesitation.
Hesitation, indeed, yes. All that long time, and we never got to what the subject on the card is. What goldfish think about? Clement Freud, can you tell us what they think about? 16 and a half seconds left, starting now.
Goldfish spend the majority of their time thinking about food and air bubbles. The reason for this is that without having...
Kenneth Williams, you challenged. Why?
Hesitation.
Yes, indeed, there's hesitation, Kenneth. So you've gained your first point. You've also gained the subject. There are 8 seconds left. What goldfish think about starting now?
The answer very simply is that they don't think at all. They simply work instinctively.
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
Deviation.
Why?
The subject is what goldfish think about, not what they don't think about.
Well, if they don't think what they don't think at all, it means they think about nothing, and that is perfectly possible. So, on this particular occasion... Kenneth Williams has another point. He has 4 seconds left, starting now.
They open their mouths and when the food goes in, it goes in by instinct, not because they've thought about it at
all. Kenneth Williams has leapt into the lead alongside Derek Nimmo. They're both 1 point ahead of Clement Freud and Miriam Karlin. Kenneth Williams, will you begin the next round? Getting dressed on a public beach. You look suitably stunned. But will you try and talk on that subject for 60 seconds, starting now?
I'm always dressed on beaches, so the occasion has not occurred for me to dress. But if I had to dress on a public beach, I know exactly how I do it. I would wear the shirt right until the last moment, keep the shirt on till the last moment, securing it round the thighs. Round the thighs, I'd secure the shirt. Round the thighs, you see. What's the challenge for?
Well, he's getting undressed, not dressed. You keep your shirt on to the last moment. You're doing the
wasn't
strip.
he undressed?
You're
No,
stripping.
getting dressed.
Getting dressed?
Yes.
Oh, I'm fine.
It does seem that Kenneth gets very confused about whether he should be dressing or undressing, but... On this occasion, Derek Nimmo has gained a point. He has 46 seconds left for getting dressed on a public beach, starting now.
When I am getting dressed on a public beach, the first thing that I do is to erect a wigwam. On the top of the wigwam, I put my Union Jack. I then go inside the tent. I take off my...
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
Deviation.
Why?
He's erected a wigwam and has gone inside a tent.
Well, a wigwam
It's a very modest way to get dressed on a public beach in a wigwam. Derek Nimmo, we continue with you. You have another point, and you have 37 seconds left for getting dressed on a public beach, starting now.
I secure all the laces on the front of the thing that I've got inside. I then...
Kenneth Williams, why do you challenge?
Well, he's told us he's erected it, so he can't secure all the laces. It's done, isn't it?
I'm inside it now, darling.
He's gone inside. Why are you challenging, Kenneth?
Well, 1 minute it's a tent, now it's got to be laced. It sounds like a corset, is it?
Kenneth, you obviously haven't done very much camping.
Oh!
32 seconds for the subject, Derek Nimmo, starting now.
I look gently to make sure there are no peeping toms, and then gently, too, I discard...
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
Repetition.
What of?
Gently.
Yes,
gently.
indeed, all
Yes,
right,
Mr.
yes.
Chairman is quite right. Give him a point.
Oh, my goodness, when you appeal to their better instincts, what does it bring out? Isn't it marvellous? Clement Freud, 27 seconds for getting dressed on a public beach, starting now.
My method of getting dressed on a public beach is very similar to that which I adopt on any other piece of land. I put on my socks, followed by my shoes, thereafter my pants, and my trousers. A shirt comes next.
Kenneth Williams, why do you challenge?
Deviation, you couldn't possibly pull your pants on over your shoes. I mean, your pants would be covered in the boot blacking, wouldn't they?
The trouble is, you see, Kenneth, I agree with you. I mean, you wouldn't and you shouldn't, but obviously you must have some very strange pants if you're Clement Freud, and this is what he does. I mean, it is not impossible.
No,
so
he was nodding himself. He was nodding.
He was nodding off, I think, actually. Anyway, I have to give Clement Freud a point on that. There are 13 seconds left for the subject, starting now.
I buckle my belt and put on my braces, and thereafter take off my braces and put on my shirt, which I tuck
Derek
into
Nimmo,
my
why do you
trousers.
challenge?
Well, he was in the middle, getting undressed again, because he put his braces on and then he took them off again. So
Oh,
that
yes.
must feature as being getting undressed at one particular point.
That's a
He should be
very
getting dressed.
clever challenge. You should have... I'll put it to the audience. Do you agree with Derek Nimmo's challenge? If you do,
Yes.
will you please cheer? If you disagree, will you please boo? Will you all please do it together now? Derek Nimmo, you've gained a point. You have 6 seconds left for the subject, starting now.
I put on my socks, and then I put on my shoes. Then I put on my white
Miriam
underpants.
Karlin, you challenge. Why?
Well, he's
You've had
putting
shoes and socks already over
Yes,
there, haven't
it
we?
was
Well done,
all
Miriam. You've gained a
repetition.
point. There is
Adding to
one...
which I hadn't said anything for hours, and I was getting very bored.
Exactly. I can't give you a bonus point for that, Miriam, but you have got the subject. There's only 1 second left for getting dressed on the public beach, starting now.
When I...
As Miriam was about to speak when the whistle went, she gains an extra point.
Have I leapt into the lead?
You leapt into a very commanding second place alongside Clement Freud.
Oh, goody.
Kenneth Williams is trailing a little. Derek Nimmo is definitely in the lead. Clement Freud begins the next round, and the subject is the advantages of not being on the telephone. It's a long subject. Think about it for a second, Clement, and start now.
One of the principal advantages of not being on the telephone is that late at night it can't suddenly ring and wake you. What happens is the people next door come in early in the morning and say, while you were asleep, somebody telephoned you, and here's the message: would you go to the butcher's shop and collect a parcel which was left there by the postman? I think there are no other advantages to this complete cutting...
Derek Nimmo, you've challenged. Why?
Deviation, if he said there are no other advantages, so he stopped talking about the advantages.
Exactly, yes, and also there's a hesitation. But Derek Nimmo, you have the subject, 32 seconds left. The advantages of not being on the telephone, starting
The
now.
advantages of not being on the telephone are many. One thing is for the...
Clement Freud, you challenge.
Hesitation.
Hesitation, Clement, 26 seconds left, starting now.
It also means that nobody can ring your children, which must be a tremendous advantage, because I have a daughter who is constantly and permanently engaged, speaking to friends who don't want to speak to her either. I have a...
Miriam Karlin, you've challenged.
Well,
Hesitation. Yes, Miriam, you have a point. And there are 13 seconds left. The advantages of not being on the telephone, starting now.
the advantage...
Clement Freud, you've challenged.
Hesitation.
Hesitation, I'm afraid, Miriam, you have to
you're
start quickly.
joking. I think
No,
you're
they're very wicked in this game. They're very wicked. Now get your
But you
finger...
said...
Get your finger on that buzzer and get cracking, girl. Are you ready? Right, Clement Freud, the 12 seconds for the advantage of not being on the telephone, starting now.
Every 3 months you don't...
Miriam Karlin, you've challenged. Why?
Well, you told me to.
If I told you to, Miriam, you must obviously have gained a point. So,
Chairman,
you have 10.5 seconds left for the advantages of not being on the telephone starting now.
It's absolutely marvellous to not be woken up in the middle of the night by boring people.
Clement Freud, you've challenged. Why?
Repetition, I've just said that.
Yes, I'm afraid you did just say
You said it, I didn't.
I know, but it's been said in this round, so I'm afraid in this situation, Clement Freud gains another point. He has 5 seconds left for the subject starting now.
Every 3 months you do not get a telephone.
Derek
bill.
Nimmo, why do you challenge?
He's already mentioned months. He said they phoned his
That's
daughter
true,
every
yes,
month.
that is true. You did say
All the
that.
months.
Judith. Well, I've done nothing for ages.
So who do you want to have the
now?
point, Kenneth Williams?
What?
Who do you think should have the point, Kenneth Williams?
I don't remember what was happening.
Oh! He jumps onto Derek Nimmo's side and now he's
Well,
intimidated
you've
by
got to
Clement
have
Freud.
rules. I mean, haven't you? You've got to abide by the rules.
Yes, but you didn't abide by anything from what you just said.
Oh.
All right, I put it to the audience. I've forgotten what was said. No, actually, Derek Nimmo challenge for months, and months has been used a number of times before. Therefore, within the context of the game, I must fairly give it to Derek. Another point to
You're
you, Derek.
quite right. A
Thank
good
you very
decision.
much. 4 seconds left for Derek Nimmo starting now.
It is a most tremendous advantage not being on the telephone.
Miriam Karlin, why do you challenge?
Repetition. There have been loads of
Advantages of not being on the telephone.
That's a
Miriam,
good point.
You
Yes,
have another
yes.
point. You
You're
have
quite
Thank you.
right.
It's popular.
Yes, get yourself ready, Miriam. 2 seconds left for the subject, starting now.
One doesn't have to go through this ghastly...
Derek Nimmo has a lead of 1. Miriam Karlin, without any help from the chairman, is in second place, just 1 point behind. Clement Freud's 1 point behind that, and Kenneth Williams only 2 points behind that. So it is a very keen contest, as you see. Miriam Karlin, will you begin the next round, please? Dieting. Will you talk on that subject for 60 seconds if you can, starting now?
Some of us are fat, and others are like Derek Nimmo and Kenneth Williams.
Kenneth Williams, you
Hesitation.
Yes, you needn't say it with such vehemence, though. We do agree. I'd say more apologetically so early in the show, actually.
I'm sorry, but there have got to be rules. You can't laugh about it. You must abide by the rules.
Kenneth Williams, you have 52 seconds for talking about
I'll
dieting,
get my
starting...
own back on you.
52 seconds, Kenneth, starting now.
There is a great fallacy about this word because everyone assumes that if you abide by this diet thing, you will lose weight. It's, of course, a load of rubbish. The only way you lose weight is, of course, to starve. Go without food, and indeed, the old fakirs of the East all recommended starvation. It is in all creeds that you should, at some point or another, give up the food, give up the material comforts, go out into the desert, in fact. Get away from all the material things. Get away from your central heating. Get away from your fitted carpets. Get away from your upholstery. What's the matter with him? He's got hysterical. He's pressing this buzzer like there's no tomorrow.
I know. He's trying to challenge you, Kenneth.
What on?
I don't know. Let's find out. Kenneth Freud, why do you challenge?
Sitting next to getaway people. Repetition.
Yes, there was a lot of repetition, yes. You were out in that desert doing goodness knows what, Kenneth. So, Clement Freud has the subject. 20 seconds left, starting now.
One of the great seats of dieting is a health resort which is ever becoming more popular in this country. For £28 a week or more, you may go to...
Kenneth Williams, why do you challenge?
Deviations, advertising.
Kenneth, if he had mentioned the name of the place, he would have been advertising. So to try and be fair, I don't think I can uphold your challenge.
I think that's a very good decision, Mr. Chairman.
As it's your
It
point, I
also-
know you would agree, Clement.
It was also very untrue because it costs a lot more than £28 a week.
Well, that's got nothing to do with the game, Miriam, but thanks for hearing your voice. It was lovely. There are 12 seconds left for dieting. Clement Freud, starting now.
You arrive at these dieting centres, and the first thing they do is give you...
Kenneth Williams, why do you...
Repetition, we've already had dieting.
We've had rather a lot of dieting, so Kenneth, you take the subject over now. 9 seconds left, starting now.
I was told once that if you do nothing but bananas and dry biscuits, it would really get you somewhere. They said just the dry biscuits, but I bet
Clement
That was good, wasn't it? Did you get that?
Yes, it was a very good attempt and actually sort of stop us challenging you.
That's right,
Yes, very well. Clement Freud, you challenge.
Repetition, dry biscuits.
Dry biscuits, yes. Clement Freud, 2 seconds left for dieting, starting now.
hot water tinged with lemon.
Miriam Karlin, you challenge.
Hesitation.
Hesitation, Miriam. You have the subject. 1 second left for darting, starting now. No, Derek Nimmo challenge first. Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation.
No, there was no hesitation. Miriam Karlin has another point. There's half a second left for you, Miriam, darting, starting now.
I've discovered the...
I don't know what Miriam Karlin was going to say that she discovered. She might have
The
discovered...
answer to dieting.
Oh, I thought you discovered how to play the game, because you have leapt into the lead.
Oh!
Miriam, you have 1 point lead over Clement Freud, who's 1 point down at Derek Nimmo, who's 2 or 3 points in front of Kemi. You're still definitely in 4th place, Kenneth. I'm very sorry. Yes.
Are you sure
Sit
you're
down. I must explain to the listeners that Kenneth was so overcome with disbelief, he had to rush from his seat, rush over to me, and look at the points of scoring that Ian Mester has in front of him, which we go by. Kenneth, you are going to start the next round. The subject is complaining about neighbours. Starting now.
You complain about neighbours because, with reason, you have had your rest, say, unjustifiably disturbed. And the worst way of doing this is when people play things through the walls. You know, they do it sometimes with a piano, or sometimes with a radio, sometimes with a guitar. I've actually heard people practicing the guitar through the wall. I've had me
Derek Nimmo. Derek Nimmo's challenged your guitar.
Repetition of guitar.
Yes, we had a lot of guitars coming through Kenneth's wall.
No, I said guitar. They were practicing guitar.
Your guitar has gained Derek a point. He has 29 seconds for complaining about neighbours, starting now.
I think it's terribly difficult to know where to draw the line when you're complaining about neighbours. I think one of the things you complain about is if they're wearing funny hats or if they're goldfish are swimming around.
Miriam Karlin, why do you challenge?
Deviation. He's discussing 2 other subjects which were discussed earlier on, drawing the line and whatever it was. Wearing funny hats.
So what do you challenge on?
Deviation.
No, because what he brought these in as phrases in his description about complaining about neighbours, he wasn't actually on that subject. Therefore, I think it's only fair.
Repetition.
No, don't try again. No, Derek Nimmo has another point. He has 22 seconds left for complaining about neighbours, starting now.
One of the disadvantages of not being on the telephone is that you can't complain if you see them getting dressed on a
Freud, why
public
do you
beach.
challenge?
Repetition.
Of what?
We've already had the telephone.
No, that was the advantage. This is one of the disadvantages, I say.
So Derek Nimmo has another point, and he has 17 seconds left for complaining about neighbours, starting now.
I generally go and knock on the door when I'm complaining about these fellows. I say, "What ho there beyond? Would you please desist from the dreadful noise that you're making?"
Kenneth Williams, why do you challenge?
Deviation, you don't call somebody beyond. What ho there beyond? Who's called beyond? I've never met someone up to a bloke and said hello beyond.
It's a clever challenge. The only fair way to do it is this. I will give you a point for cleverness, Kenneth.
Thank you ever so much.
But leave the subject with Derek Nimmo, who continues with 7 seconds left for 8 seconds, complaining about the neighbours, starting now.
And when they answer me, I say, "Do you realise?"
Miriam Karlin, why do you challenge?
Slight hesitation.
A slight hesitation, Miriam.
Oh, yes.
Miriam, you have the subject. There are 6 seconds left for complaining about neighbours, starting now.
When my neighbours decide to like...
Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge? Hesitation, yes, Derek. There are 4 seconds left for complaining about neighbours, starting now.
I don't like to do this, but would you please stop from...
Miriam Karlin, why do you challenge?
Because he didn't like to do it. He didn't like to do it, and we didn't like to do it.
You mean if he didn't like to do it, it was very devious of him to come down here at all and try and
Yes.
do it? Exactly, Miriam. Of course.
Very devious.
So, Miriam, you have the subject with 1 second left for complaining about neighbours, starting now.
People who write vampires on it.
Well, the final result, I think, in the circumstances, was very fair. Miriam came behind with a great rush at the end. Clement Freud was in there right to the end, in spite of his generosity towards Kenneth Williams. But Derek Nimmo, by his cleverness and ingenuity, by 1 point, is this week's winner.
Hooray! Good old Derek!
Lovely! The generous hurrahs and well dones came from Kenneth Williams because he was in 4th place just behind Miriam and Clement Freud, who were both equal. That's all we have time for. From all of us here, goodbye. Goodbye.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The program was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by David Hatch.